Cole Ryder gazed out the Star Shuttle window as the alien capital rose into view. Pale stone towers curved like petals around a silver lake, each one veined with living vines that shimmered in the afternoon sun. The scene looked gentle, almost inviting, yet his pulse beat hard behind his ribs. Earth and the Twin Crown Empire had traded wary glances and sharper words for years. Now one human envoy had crossed half the galaxy to stop a war before it began. That envoy was him. The craft settled on a glass-bright landing pad. Warm, sweet air rolled in as the hatch hissed open. Cole straightened the navy suit chosen by Earth's council and reminded himself to breathe slowly and to watch everything. A line of guards waited, armor smooth and weapon-free, marked only by a twin sun crest. At their head stood a tall alien woman with pale teal skin and clear sea-green eyes. A slim crown of silver leaves rested on short ivory hair. "Welcome, Envoy Rider," she said in flawless standard. "I am Captain Illyra, escort to Queen Zorin. The court awaits." Cole returned a polite nod. "I'm honored to be here." The walk from the landing pad to the palace wound through bright gardens. Crystal birds sang two-note songs among wide leaves, and citizens bowed as Cole passed faces curious, not hostile. Illyra murmured that many common folk prayed for peace. More than their rulers dared admit, they entered vaulted corridors where sunlight spilled through crystal ceilings, painting shifting rainbows on the floor. Vines blossomed along the walls, tended by small hovering drones that trimmed stray stems with gentle puffs of air. Nothing looked like a fortress. Yet Cole felt discreet defenses watching every step. Two enormous leaf-shaped doors folded open, revealing the throne chamber. Twin crystal seats stood side by side beneath an arch carved into the shape of converging crowns. Only one throne was occupied. Queen Zoran rose. Tall and graceful, she moved with the calm of deep water. Her skin shimmered faintly, robes of crimson flowing around her form. A chain of bronze leaves circled her neck, but it was her warm, curious smile that struck Cole hardest. He bowed, right fist over heart, following the exact depth advised by his translator pin. "You have journeyed far," she began. "Our peoples hover at the edge of sorrow. I wish to step back from that edge. Earth desires the same." Cole answered, keeping his voice steady. The queen signaled the guards to withdraw, and the hall shrank to a private echo. "When our empire forges alliance, we bind it with more than ink," she said. "We join lives. Hearts endure where parchment fails. Cole Ryder, join your life with mine. Become my bond partner, and let our worlds stand as one." The words struck like silent thunder. Cole had prepared for trade talks, security guarantees, even veiled threats. He had not prepared for a royal proposal. "Your Majesty, I am only an envoy," he managed. "I'm no prince." "A prince is only a symbol," she replied. "We need a bridge. I choose you because you came in hope, not conquest." Before he could gather an answer, soft footsteps echoed behind him. Another woman stepped from a side arch taller, broader at the shoulders, wearing dark travel armor. Her skin matched the queen's pale teal. Her storm-gray eyes held a soldier's focus. A thin scar traced her jaw. "My sister speaks of bridges," she said, voice low but strong. "Bridges must touch both banks. If peace is to hold, you must marry me as well." Queen Zorin placed a gentle hand on her arm. "Envoy Rider, this is Princess Kirena, Warden of the Outer Provinces. The throne is shared between us. One partner must bind us both, or our circle breaks." Kirena folded her arms, gaze steady, not cruel, only cautious. Cole felt her measuring the tilt of his shoulders, the steadiness of his breathing, searching for weakness or hidden motive. He drew a long breath. "Queens of the Twin Crown, your request is immense. I hold no authority to accept vows of this weight. Grant me time to learn your ways so my answer rings true." Zorin nodded. "Time shall be given. At dawn, the trials of dual harmony begin. They reveal the heart. Rest until then." Kirena dipped her head once. "We shall see the metal beneath your words, human." Escorted back through sunlit corridors, Cole caught his reflection in a pane of polished crystal. He scarcely recognized the man staring back, jaw set, eyes wide with wonder and fear. In the gardens he paused beside a monument split by a narrow gap of empty space. Sunlight through the gap formed a single beam. Illyra called it the line of balance, proof that unity forms when two sides share one light. The symbol stayed with him long after he reached the guest suite high in the palace spire. Night draped the city in soft purple. From his balcony Cole watched skycraft glide along invisible lanes while gentle music floated up from streets lit by crystal lanterns. He tried to draft a report to Earth Command, but every sentence felt too small for what had happened. How does one explain receiving not one royal proposal, but two offers that might decide war or peace? He deleted the text and pasted. A meal arrived. Fruit that fizzed with spice, bread that tasted of sea air, tea that cooled the body yet sharpened the mind. He tasted everything, more out of duty than hunger, thinking of Zorain's calm trust and Karina's fierce scrutiny. At last, he stood in the quiet and spoke aloud, as if Earth's leaders could hear him through the stars. I promised to find a path to peace. Now the path asks for my life. Far below, the twin crowns atop the palace towers caught the rising moons, their arcs meeting at a single bright point. In that pinpoint of light, the fate of two civilizations, perhaps. The fate of billions now rested on one human heart. Cole woke to soft light filtering through tall windows. The palace was quiet, but the weight of what lay ahead pressed on him like the thick velvet curtains. Today was the day of the trials of dual harmony, the strange rite Queen Zorin had spoken of, and the moment where he would face the sister, Princess Karina, as well. A gentle knock came at the door. Illyra, the captain of the Queen's Guard, entered with a small smile. The Queens await your presence in the Hall of Unity. It is time, envoy rider. Cole nodded and followed. His footsteps steadied despite the nervous twist in his stomach. The Hall of Unity was unlike any room he had ever seen. It was a circle of white stone, open to the sky above, with soft moss growing between smooth tiles. At the center stood two pillars, carved with intertwined crowns and symbols unknown to him. Around the edge, strange runes glowed faintly, pulsing, with a rhythm like a heartbeat. Queen Zorin appeared first, her crimson robes flowing as she stepped forward. The trials test more than strength or skill, she explained softly. They reveal the spirit and the soul. Princess Karina entered next, her armor gleaming faintly in the morning sun. Her gray eyes met Cole's with sharp intensity. Your mind will be stretched, your heart weighed. You must show us that you can stand with both of us. Cole swallowed hard, but kept his gaze firm. I am ready to try. The first trial began with Zorin, guiding him through a garden maze crafted from living vines. The paths shifted quietly as they moved, but the Queen's calm voice soothed his worries. Trust your senses, she said. Listen to the world, and you will find your way. Inside the maze, Cole was challenged to solve riddles whispered by the rustling leaves. The answers were not simple facts, but feelings and truths about himself. One riddle asked, what weighs more than stone but is lighter than air? Cole thought carefully before answering, hope. Zorin smiled warmly. You understand? As they emerged from the maze, Cole felt a lightness he hadn't known since arriving. This trial was not just physical. It was a lesson in patience and trust. The second trial waited in a stark arena beyond the garden. Karina stood at its center, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Here, she said bluntly, you will face your fears. Cole's heart quickened. From the shadows stepped strange creatures, large, fierce, but clearly controlled by the princess's will. His training in Earth security forces kicked in. He dodged and blocked, his moves quick but careful. Karina watched silently, measuring every choice. One beast lunged suddenly. Cole rolled to the side and caught it in a net of glowing threads that appeared from nowhere. The crowd of palace observers gasped, then murmured with approval. Karina approached, eyes sharp but not unkind. You have courage. But courage alone is not enough, Cole nodded, breathing hard. What else do I need? Balance, she replied, between strength and mercy. The final part of the trials was a test of harmony. The queens stood side by side, holding hands, and invited Cole to join them. The runes on the floor brightened, and a gentle hum filled the air. Together, they formed a circle. Suddenly, visions flashed before Cole's eyes, memories of the Empire's past struggles, victories, and losses. He saw both the kindness of the Queen and the fierce protection of the sister. He felt their hopes for peace mixed with the fear of betrayal. When the visions faded, Zorin spoke quietly. "These are our truths. Can you hold them both, and stand as one?" Cole felt a warmth growing inside him, a connection to these women and their people. "I will try." Kirena's voice softened just a little. "That is all we ask." The crowd in the hall erupted in applause as the trials ended. Cole's arms ached from holding hands, his mind raced with new understanding, but he stood taller than ever. Later, in a quiet room, Zorin and Kirena sat close together. The Queen reached for Cole's hand, and the sister offered a rare, small smile. "We test all who seek to join us," Zorin said. "You have passed not only the trials, but the hearts of two queens." Kirena's eyes met Cole's. "Now comes the real challenge, the days ahead." Cole nodded slowly. "I'm ready to face them." Cole woke to the soft light of dawn spilling through the tall windows of his chamber. The events of the previous day, the trials of dual harmony, still filled his thoughts. He felt a strange mixture of pride and unease. Passing the trials meant he had taken a step into a world far different from his own, one where trust was built on more than words, where strength was balanced with kindness. The palace was already stirring when he left his room. Servants moved quietly along polished halls, carrying trays of food and fragrant teas. Outside, the gardens shimmered with morning dew, and the air smelled fresh and sweet. Cole took a deep breath and reminded himself to stay calm. Today, he would meet the leaders of the court, and perhaps face the true test of his role in this alien empire. Illyra, the Queen's captain, waited for him by the great doors. "They are ready for you," she said simply. The doors opened too. A large chamber filled with figures dressed in elegant robes and armor. Nobles and warriors, advisors and priests, all eyes turned toward Cole as he entered. The room buzzed with whispers. Some faces held hope, others suspicion. At the center, Queen Zorin stood tall and graceful, her sea-green eyes fixed on him. Beside her, Princess Kirena's storm-gray gaze was sharp but calm. Cole felt the weight of their presence settle over the hall. Zorin spoke first, her voice clear and warm. "Our people watch closely. Some fear this union with a human. Others see the chance for a future without war." A man stepped forward, a high-ranking noble with silver hair and stern eyes. "Your Majesty, how can we trust a human? Our worlds have been enemies for centuries." Kirena's voice cut through the tension. "Because the war ends only when we choose to end it. This man has passed our trials. He has shown courage and respect." Cole stepped forward, heart steady. "Despite the gaze of hundreds, I do not come as a conqueror. I come as a bridge between our peoples, our hopes, and our fears. I will prove my loyalty not just in words, but in actions." The hall grew quiet, then Zorin smiled gently. "Let this be the moment when old doubts begin to fade." That evening, Cole was invited to a private dinner with the two queens. The table was set in a quiet garden room filled with glowing flowers and soft music. Zorin's calm presence eased the stiffness in Cole's shoulders, while Kirena's sharp eyes watched him with quiet curiosity. Over the meal, the queens shared stories of their childhood, tales of sibling rivalry, of lessons learned in fire and shadow, and of dreams for a united empire. Cole listened, realizing how much history and responsibility rested on their shoulders. Kirena's tone softened as she spoke about the outer provinces she protected. "The border is tense. Rebels still resist our rule, but they fear what we might become, peaceful or powerful." Zorin reached for Cole's hand. "We need more than strength. We need wisdom and patience. And we need you." Cole nodded slowly. "I will stand with you both. But I will need time to understand your people, your ways, and your hearts." The days that followed were filled with meetings, lessons, and more challenges. Cole learned the language of the court, studied their history, and trained in their customs. But more importantly, he saw the Queen's different styles, Zorin's gentle diplomacy balanced by Kirena's fierce protection. One afternoon, as they walked the palace gardens, Kirena spoke quietly. Do you wonder if you can truly belong here? Cole looked at the glowing leaves and answered honestly, I do, but I also believe that belonging is built with trust, and I want to build that with both of you. Zorin smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. You already have. But peace was fragile. Rumors of rebellion in the outer provinces grew louder. Cole knew the coming weeks would test their alliance, and the courage of one human who dared to unite two queens and an empire's fate. Cole had settled into the rhythm of palace life, but beneath the calm surface, tension rippled through the Twin Crown Empire. Whispers of unrest echoed in shadowed halls, and not all eyes welcomed the idea of a human joining their royal family. One evening, as Cole walked through the palace gardens, Illyra approached with a serious expression. There are voices in the court that question your place here, envoy rider. Some nobles see you as a threat to tradition. Cole nodded slowly. I expected resistance. Change is never easy. Illyra's eyes flicked toward a dark grove where the moonlight barely touched. More than words, some plan actions. The warning was clear. The uneasy peace held by fragile trust might shatter. Later that night, during a formal ceremony to honor the Empire's history, the tension broke violently. As Queen Zorin stood to address the gathering, a sudden explosion rocked the hall. Smoke filled the air, and screams pierced the night. Cole's training took over. He moved quickly to protect the queens, guiding them behind a shield of guards. Princess Kyrena drew her blade, eyes sharp as she scanned for danger. The attackers were masked insurgents, skilled but desperate. They fought fiercely, hoping to disrupt the fragile alliance by striking at its heart. Cole faced one in close combat. Using human tactics that surprised the attackers, the palace guards rallied, pushing the attackers back until silence returned. The damage was heavy, but the queens were safe. After the chaos, Cole found Zorin and Kyrena in a quiet chamber, their usual composure shaken. We knew the risk, Zorin said softly, but not so soon. Kyrena's voice was hard. Our enemies will try again. They fear what this union means. Cole looked at them both, understanding the weight they bore. Then we fight with more than swords. We fight with trust, with unity. The queens nodded. You have proven yourself in battle and in heart. We will stand together. In the days that followed, security tightened. Cole worked closely with Kyrena, learning the Empire's defensive strategies. The princess, once distant, began to trust his judgment and strength. One afternoon, as they trained in the palace courtyard, Kyrena paused and spoke quietly. Your people fight differently than ours. Your courage inspires even those who doubted. Cole smiled. Your strength and honor teach me as much as I teach you. Their bond deepened, built not only on duty, but on respect and shared purpose. Meanwhile, Queen Zorin reached out to the Empire's nobles, using diplomacy and openness to calm fears. She invited leaders to join discussions, promising a future where all voices mattered. Slowly, the Empire began to shift. Old grudges softened, and new alliances formed. Cole realized that his role was more than a bridge between worlds. It was a chance to change hearts. As the twin moons rose over the palace towers, the three stood together on a balcony, looking out over a realm still fragile but filled with hope. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, they faced it united, human and queens, bound by trust, courage, and a vision of peace strong enough to withstand any storm. The weeks after the attack passed in a blur of meetings, training, and cautious peace. Cole found himself drawn deeper into the lives of the two queens and the empire they led. Yet beneath the growing trust, a shadow remained, one that no diplomacy or strength could fully erase. One evening, as twilight painted the palace in soft gold, Cole sat in the garden with Kyrena. The princess was quieter than usual, her usual sharp gaze softened by something unspoken. What troubles you? Cole asked gently. Kyrena hesitated before speaking. There is a past I have kept hidden, even from my sister. A time when I believed peace was a weakness and strength the only truth. Cole listened as she told him of battles fought not just against enemies but against her own doubts. I refused every suitor because I feared losing control. I thought no one could match my strength or understand my burden. Her eyes met. When you came, I expected weakness. Instead, I saw courage, patience, and something I had forgotten, hope. Cole reached out, offering a steady hand. Hope is what we all need. Sometimes it takes a stranger to remind us. Meanwhile, Queen Zorin worked tirelessly to heal the fractures in her court. One afternoon, Cole found her alone in her study, poring over messages from distant provinces. The rebellion grows restless, she admitted. But your presence has changed many minds. The people see that unity is possible. Cole nodded. But some still fear what they don't understand. It will take time, Zorin smiled faintly. Patience is our greatest ally. Their conversation was interrupted by a messenger bearing urgent news. A border town had fallen to rebels, and the Empire's forces were stretched thin. The crisis demanded swift action. Cole volunteered to lead a small team to assist in reclaiming the town. The queens agreed, trusting his judgment. Before he left, Kirena clasped his hand firmly. Remember, strength without heart is empty. Zorin added, and heart without strength is vulnerable. The mission was perilous. Cole and his team moved through rugged terrain, facing harsh weather and hidden ambush. Along the way, he relied on both human ingenuity and lessons learned. From the queens, when they reached the town, they found it in ruins, its people fearful and distrustful. Cole spoke openly, sharing the queen's vision of peace and protection. Slowly, he won their trust. Together with local forces, they planned a careful strike against the rebels. The battle was tense but swift. Cole's leadership and the team's discipline turned the tide. After the victory, the townspeople celebrated cautiously. Cole promised to return with aid and support. As he prepared to leave, a young woman approached him. Thank you, she said softly. You have given us hope. Cole smiled, feeling the weight of his promise. Returning to the palace, Cole found the queens waiting. Their pride was clear, but so was the understanding of the challenges ahead. We have taken a step, Zorin said. But the path to peace is long, Kirena nodded. And we will walk it together with you. That night, as Cole rested, he thought about the journey so far. From a simple envoy to a bridge between worlds, from stranger to trusted ally. He knew the future held more trials, but also the chance to change the fate of two peoples united by courage, trust, and hope. The morning sun cast long shadows across the palace walls as Cole stood on the balcony, looking out over the sprawling city below. The air was thick with anticipation. News of the recent victory at the border had spread quickly, but the peace remained fragile. The court buzzed with unease. Whispers of rebellion still echoed through the halls. Yet today, Cole knew, was different. The queens had called for a gathering, one that might decide the future of their alliance. Inside the grand hall, nobles and advisors filled the seats, their faces tense. At the center stood Queen Zorin and Princess Kirena, poised and regal. But something was wrong. A sudden tremor shook the room, followed by the sound of rushing footsteps. The doors burst open, and a group of soldiers rushed in, their armor dented and weapons drawn. The outer provinces have launched a surprise attack, a messenger gasped. The border forces are overwhelmed. The rebels aim to break the Empire. Gasps. And murmurs swept through the crowd. Cole's heart pounded. This was the moment they had feared. Zorin's calm voice rose above the chaos. We will not falter. The strength of our union will stand against this threat. Kirena's eyes flashed steel. I will lead the defense. But the queens were injured moments later in an ambush during a reconnaissance mission. The news spread fast, shaking the Empire's confidence. With both queens unable to command, all eyes turned to Cole. He stood before the council, steady despite the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. I will lead the defense. Our people must see that the bond we share is not broken by hardship. Some nobles whispered doubts, but many nodded in approval. The fate of the Empire now rested on a human's shoulders. Cole's strategies were a blend of human tactics and the queen's teachings. He used swift maneuvers and clever traps to outsmart the rebels. His calm presence inspired soldiers who had once doubted him. Battles raged across the borders. Cole faced dangers he had never imagined, but he met each challenge with courage and clear thinking. Slowly, the tide began to turn. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Zorin and Karena recovered. They sent messages of support, trusting Cole's leadership. One night, as Cole planned the next move, Karena appeared in his quarters. Her gaze was softer now, but firm. "You have surprised us all," she said. "Your courage and honor have earned the respect of the Empire." Cole smiled, humbled. "I only did what was needed." Zorin joined them, placing a hand on Cole's shoulder. "Together we have faced darkness and stood strong." The final battle was fierce. Rebel forces pushed hard to break through the defenses, but Cole's troops held firm. Using a combination of surprise attacks and disciplined defense, they defeated the rebels. When the dust settled, the Empire celebrated a hard-won peace. Cole's name spread among the people as the human who stood beside the queens in their darkest hour. At the victory ceremony, Zorin and Karena took their places. Beside Cole, their smiles were proud and genuine. "We fought as one," Zorin declared. "Our union is stronger than ever," Karena nodded. "And with Cole, our bond is unbreakable." As the crowd cheered, Cole felt a deep sense of belonging. He was no longer just an envoy or an outsider. He was part of something greater, a family, a future, and a promise of peace. The three stood together beneath the twin moons, united not only by duty but by trust and respect. The Empire had faced its greatest test and emerged stronger because a human dared to stand with two queens and change the course of history forever. The grand hall of the Twin Crown Empire was filled with light and music, a celebration unlike any other. Citizens from every corner of the realm had gathered to witness a historic moment, the formal union of Queen Zorin, Princess Karena, and Cole Ryder, the human who had become their trusted partner. The air buzzed with excitement, but also with a deep sense of hope. Cole stood between the two queens, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon him. The past months had been filled with challenges, trials, and battles, but none of that mattered. Now, what mattered was the future they would build together. The queens looked radiant, their faces shining with pride and trust. Zorin stepped forward and spoke clearly, her voice carrying through the hall. "Today, we do not just unite as rulers of this empire, we unite as family. We choose peace, strength, and trust together." Karena took Cole's hand with a gentle smile. "Our bond is not just a matter of politics. It is a promise of loyalty, respect, and love." Cole's heart swelled. He remembered the moment he first arrived, unsure and alone on an alien world. Now he stood before thousands, not just as a visitor, but as a partner, as someone who belonged. When the ancient rites began, Cole felt the warmth of the ritual's energy surround them. Symbols of their unity glowed softly, and the crowd watched in silent awe. The queen's hands joined with his, a circle of trust and strength. As the ceremony ended, applause thundered through the hall. The people cheered not only for the alliance, but for the hope that had been born, a hope that two worlds could live as one. After the celebration, Cole found himself alone with Zorin and Karena in the palace gardens. The night was calm, stars sparkling above like silent witnesses to their journey. Zorin smiled warmly. "You have done more than we ever expected. You have brought light to a future once clouded by fear." Karena nodded. "We feared what a human might bring. Instead, you have shown us courage and heart." Cole looked at them both, feeling a deep connection. "I never imagined I would find this, a family, a home, a purpose." They stood together in quiet understanding, three hearts beating as one. In the weeks that followed, the empire began to change. Borders once tense with conflict softened into paths of trade and friendship. Stories of the human who united the queens spread far and wide, inspiring others to believe in peace. Cole continued to learn and grow, embracing the customs and people of the empire. He knew challenges would come again, but now he faced them. Not alone, but with two queens by his side. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, Cole stood with Zorin and Karena on the balcony. The city below gleamed with life, a testament to the strength of their bond. "We changed more than laws," Zorin said softly. "We changed hearts," Karena smiled, "and we did it together." Cole took their hands, feeling the warmth of their touch and the promise of their future. "Not just me," he said with a grin. "Together?" As the stars shone brightly above, three souls stood united, a human and two queens, ready to face whatever the future held. Their story was one of courage, trust, and the power to change worlds through the strength of their bond.